Greetings, peace, ladies and gentlemen. Gandhi the Zoe, your host for the Principles of a Prophet's podcast, and we're back with another one. After the last episode which the title was Rethinking Haiti. It was about my reflections and my thoughts, critical analysis anyway, about the Haitian problem and the Haitian condition in light of its history. And there were some strong reactions across social media, particularly Instagram and TikTok. I had people unfollow me, mostly Haitians. There were also Haitian sympathizers and Haitian supporters who also did not agree with my perspective. Now, disagreement is fine, right? For me, as long as it's done respectfully and reasonably, but there were a lot of insults and ad hominem attacks, right? And I felt it was necessary for this episode for me to talk about culture. It's not going to be deep dive, but we're going to, get a little bit, we're going to expand, okay, our horizons somewhat, right? It's not, like I said, we're not going to do deep dive, but I felt it was necessary to explain my position, to make it clearer as possible, and to give some definitions about culture. There were some people actually in the comments that I noticed who actually went and got a dictionary. I don't know if it was Webster's dictionary definition of culture, but the senses that I was using the term culture, it's much more complex than what you read on Webster. So, without further ado, let us begin. So, some definitions of culture. And I got this on the Boston University website. They have a module that they created. And upon reviewing, I deemed that the information that was there was appropriate, right, to our discussion today. So I decided to use some of the definitions they had on their module about culture. And I'll also leave links to that website so you could go verify for yourself. And whatever scholar I might refer or quote in this episode, I'll try to I will definitely make sure that I have links for reference purposes. Now, first definition that I saw, right? So I'm going to read this. Culture refers to the cumulative deposit of knowledge, experience, beliefs, values, attitudes, meanings, hierarchies, religion, notions of time, roles, spatial relations, concept of the universe, and material objects and possessions acquired by a group of people in the course of generations through individual and group striving. This was a first definition. Second one, culture is communication. Communication is culture. Third, culture in its broadest sense is cultivated behavior. That is the totality of a person's learned, accumulated experience, which is socially transmitted, or more briefly, behavior through social learning. A third definition that they had on the website for the Boston University website, that is, a culture is a way of life of a group of people. The behaviors, beliefs, values, and symbols that they accept, generally without thinking about them, and that are passed along by communication and imitation from one generation to the next. Culture is symbolic communication. This is another definition. Culture is symbolic communication. Some of its symbols include a group's skills, knowledge, attitudes, values, and motives. The meanings of the symbols are learned and deliberately perpetuated in a society through its institutions. There are some more, but I guess I'll read. Lastly, let's read a couple more. Culture is the sum total of the learned behavior of a group of people that are generally considered to be the tradition of that people and are transmitted from generation to generation. Lastly, this is a definition from the anthropologist James Spradley. Culture is the acquired knowledge people use to interpret experience and generate behavior. Culture, furthermore, right? This end quote. This was James Bradley. He's an anthropologist. This was his definition of culture. Furthermore, let's do a quick etymology of culture. So culture, the word, comes from the Latin cultura, stemming from colere, which means to cultivate. Remember these definitions, right? And if you are watching this episode, you'll have the opportunity to go back, rewind, and review the definitions that I've just read, because it's going to be very important as we move along. And also, I think it'll help. And going back to watch after this episode, to go back and watch the previous episode, Rethinking Haiti, and to see what I was trying to say, to try to understand at least. So, as I mentioned, culture is from the Latin cultura, stemming from colere, meaning to cultivate, generally refers to patterns of human activity and the symbolic structures that give such activities significance and importance. Cultures can be understood as systems of symbols and meanings that even their creators contest, that lack fixed boundaries, that are constantly in flux, and that interact and compete with one another, right? So it's saying that the systems of symbols, right, and meanings, I'm going to reread it, this is very important, that culture consists of, right? They are understood by their creators and somewhat, and the creators, okay, of these symbols and meanings often have contestations, or they contest amongst themselves, right, such meanings and symbols. Furthermore, these meanings and symbols, according to the definition that I'm reading here, the etymological definition, they're not fixed, right? They don't have fixed boundaries. So which means there's, as it says, they are constantly in influx. It's a flow. It's dynamic. So culture is dynamic. It moves forward, backward, side to side, etc., right? And these symbols and meanings, they interact with each other. The creators of these symbols and meanings, right, also are, by virtue of what the definition is trying to explain, also our interaction with each other, and also competing with one another, right, about the symbols and meanings. Now, culture can be defined as all the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of a population that are passed down from generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, art, norms of behavior, such as laws and morality, and systems of belief. And these are some of the ways, basically, that culture as a noun can be defined and understood. Now, culture as a verb, it can mean to grow, to elevate, and to develop. As I said, I'm taking my time, I'm reading these definitions so that y'all could possibly get a better understanding of what I was intending or what I meant to say in the previous episode, Rethinking Haiti. And also for this episode, as we move forward, so that I think we can be on the same page. Doesn't mean we have to agree about my perspective about, of Haiti. But I think that I articulated myself properly and reasonably, right, in last episode, and I will attempt to continue to do so. But there were a lot of reactions that were uncalled for. So let us continue. So culture also, right? There are cultural differences that manifest themselves in different ways at differing levels of depth, right? In a society. Symbols, as I mentioned, they represent the most superficial aspects, if you want to say, or manifestations of culture. And then you have also values, which are the deepest manifestations of culture. So culture or cultural differences, they manifest themselves through symbols and values. Okay, these are some of the ways. And symbols, they're more superficial in terms of the how culture manifests itself, and values are more deep manifestations of culture, right? Then you have heroes and rituals, right? Which anyway, according to the Boston University module, you have heroes and rituals that are placed in between values and symbols, right? As manifestation, as ways that culture manifests itself. Now, what are symbols? Excuse me. Symbols are words, gestures, pictures, or objects that carry a particular meaning only recognized by those who share a particular culture. For example, the eagle, American pie, the Statue of Liberty are symbols that represent what America is to Americans or to the American. New symbols easily develop and old ones disappear. Because remember, we said earlier, right? Culture in itself is dynamic, right? Moves forward, backward, side to side. And it's ever in influx, right, within itself. So you have old symbols that may disappear and new symbols may emerge, right, within culture. Symbols from one particular group are regularly copied by others. That is why symbols represent the outermost layer of culture. Remember, as I said, as a manifest earlier, said one of the ways that culture manifests itself is through symbols, right? And we said that symbol represented the most superficial way of manifesting culture. So here, conclusively, we're saying that because symbols from from one particular they are copied, right, from one particular group and by others. This is part of what makes symbols represent the outermost layer of a culture, or as we said earlier, a more superficial manifestation of culture. Some Haitian symbols, for example, right, are Citadelle de la Ferrière, the blue and red flag. Perhaps it can be considered as a Haitian symbol. Now, if y'all have more symbols that y'all are aware of that are manifestations or ways that Haitian culture is manifested, leave them in the comment. And as we go along, don't forget to subscribe and like or even dislike this episode. We are new, right? This is new. We are, I believe, at our 5th or 4th episode, so we need your support. Now, let us continue. The other manifestations or ways that culture manifests itself, we read earlier, is through heroes. So heroes are persons, past or present, real or fictitious, who possess characteristics highly prized in the culture. They also serve as models for behavior. In Haitian culture, again, for example, Dessalines, right, or the fathers of the Republic, they're considered to be heroes. Toussaint, Fatima, I believe, right? They're all considered to be heroes. Now, rituals which is another way that culture is manifested. Rituals are collective activities, sometimes superstitious and reaching desired objectives, but they are considered as socially essential. They are therefore carried out most of the times for their own sake. So, for example, they say that, ways of greetings, paying respect to others. So in Haitian culture, for example, you have a way of greeting in Creole that when I was a kid in Haiti that everyone used to hear them say in the morning when people wake up and they're about to begin their day and they encounter another, or if they're going to meet another at the other's residence, you will hear them either knock on the door, say, "Oh, ne," and the host, the person, the other person would respond, "Respect." So this is one ritual that you have in Haitian culture. So paying respect to others, religious and social ceremonies, these are all rituals which are another way that culture manifests itself. Now, the core of a culture is formed by values. There are broad tendencies for preferences of certain state of affairs to others. So good, evil, right, wrong, natural, unnatural. Many values remain unconscious to those who hold them. Therefore, they often cannot be discussed, nor can they be directly observed by others. Values can only be inferred from the way people act under different circumstances. For example, like in Haitian culture, the notion of mal élevé or dérespectant are common to most, if not to say all Haitians, or in Haitian culture, which in general, we presuppose we understand them, right? But I bet you, right? We never really take time to discuss, like some things that, say, for example, Haitian elders may consider to be mal élevé. We never really discuss why really are they mal élevé. It's very arbitrary, right? So this is an example of values in Haitian, or as manifestation of Haitian culture, that are inferred, from the way that we act them out, right? Without necessarily having a thorough understanding of them. So symbols, heroes, rituals, they're the tangible and visual aspects of the practices of a culture. The true cultural meaning of the practice is intangible, according again to this module on the Boston University. This is revealed only when the practices are interpreted by the insiders, which means the people that are part of that culture. Hence, most likely, why a lot of Haitians on TikTok specifically had strong reaction to my claim, right, that Haitians, that I doubt of particular Haitian identity, or that I question that Haitians have a culture of flourishing, that they lack that. So as we continue, layers of culture, right? It says, so people, even within the same culture, carry several layers of mental programming within themselves. Different layers of culture exist at the following levels. It says, so there's the national level, the regional level, and gender level, right? And generational level. So the national level is associated with the nation as a whole, right? So this is the way that everyone within the cultures and Haitian culture may understand themselves. At the regional level, for example, it is associated with ethnic, linguistic, or religious differences that exist within a nation. For example, again, since we're talking specifically about Haitian culture, so at the regional level, you may have people from the north and people from Port-au-Prince, the capital, or the south. The way they speak Creole is different from each other. They all speak Creole. There's a common Creole among all Haitians in Haiti, but each region, right, of the country have a specific way that they speak that Creole, that they express that Creole, and tone and vocabulary, right? It differs. Like for people again in the north, Okap Haitien, they have a well, not we, well, to me, myself, who was born in, and I was born in the South, Okai, and raised in Port-au-Prince, right, most of my life, hearing people from Okai speak Creole sounds funny to my ear, right? Or would sound funny to my ear. So this is a layer of culture at the regional level. Furthermore, we talked about gender. I think this is self-explanatory, male, female, right? There's a way that the Haitian males express the culture that is different, from the females. At the generational level, the Tsimun, the Gamun, and the people in between, right? I think this is rather clear. And there's also finally the social class level. So in Haiti, you only have 2 classes technically. Maybe in the past, when I was growing up, when I was a kid over there, you had possibly 3 classes, the rich, the middle, and the poor. But for a while now, it's been either you're rich or you're poor. So there's the culture, among these 2 classes, the culture will be manifested or acted out differently. Now, one may use the word culture in several ways, y'all. For example, one may use the word culture to talk about the way that cannibals live, literally, as in a culture of cannibalism. Now, we had an important section. This is so that I can give clarity, all right, to how the 2 senses, or one of the 2 senses that I was using, the one word culture, and that excerpt that had a lot of y'all on Haitian TikTok specifically riled up. So remember, right, there are several ways in which you can use the word culture. Now, I've given y'all some definitions and background. We're moving forward, okay? So, for example, as I said, one may use the word culture to talk about the way that cannibals live. So literally, right? So it's the statement like a culture of cannibalism. This is it's literally saying, it's expressing an idea about how cannibals live or live out, right? Their lived experience. And you can also use it figuratively to express how members of a family fight among themselves, right? Among themselves to the point of destruction, that is. So the example that I came up with, check it out, is the Joseph family is always in conflict. They practice a culture of cannibalism. Now, this is using culture and cannibalism figuratively, right? So notice there are 2 senses that I've used culture here in these 2 examples. The first was the literal. So we say a culture of cannibalism, right? For example, yes, you do still have some people groups on the planet right now in certain regions of the world who still practice cannibalism. So part of their culture is cannibalistic. So in the sense that I'm speaking here in this little phrase, a culture of cannibalism, this would be, you would have to take the word culture, literally. Second example, which I made up, which was the Joseph family is always in conflict. They practice a culture of cannibalism. So this one is ambiguous, right? It can be interpreted literally or figuratively. Now, the sense that you'd have to have, this would have to be put or placed in a wider context so you can see whether it's figuratively being used or literally, right? Now, the way that I intended it in this example is figuratively. The reason that I'm there, right, that I'm doing this is to express the fact that a lot of y'all were reacting, and some of the comments that I read, y'all were putting definitions, y'all were questioning the validity of my claim and my position, right? Some were even saying that I was ignorant, that I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm trying to point out here, culture has a wide semantic range, y'all. Just like plenty or many words across the English language and in Creole also. In French, excuse me, in French, which is another language that I speak, and Hebrew also, a language that I'm quite familiar with. Words, right? The lexicon may have wide a range of, a wide semantic range. So, so two senses, right? A literal sense and a figuratively speaking or figurative sense that you can use the word culture. So, end the episode, Rethinking Haiti, right, of my podcast, Principles of Profits, this podcast that you're tuned in to right now, right? The last episode, I stated that Haitians collectively do not possess a culture or identity of or for human flourishing or development, right? And this is what I believe got a lot of people in uproar. And this was a value judgment that I made based on a critical analysis of how Haitians have fared in Haiti historically. So I've thought it over. I didn't thoroughly research this, and I did say this right in the episode. I mentioned clearly that this was an intuition that was obviously based on experience or certain experience, but I wanted to pursue it further, right, by doing more research, okay? And I use, in making that claim, I use the word culture in both senses, right? Literally and figuratively. So if you go watch the episode, you'll see that, or the excerpt specifically on TikTok, you'll see that I said that Haitians have this pretense or this pretense of culture. And furthermore, I also said that they don't have a culture of development, right, of human flourishing. So two sense, I was using the word culture. And in one sense, I say they do have culture, and the other, I say they don't. So if you take what I'm saying, or if you took it literally, it would make no sense because I'd be contradicting myself. I'm positing that they have culture, and then furthermore, I'm saying they don't. That would make no sense. This is why it is important to contextualize, discourse. So if you, and I was inviting a lot of y'all to go watch the episode. A lot of y'all did watch the episode. Some of y'all were dismissive, telling me, oh, I'm not interested in watching such ignorance, right? Yet you went in uproar about something that you didn't understand, right? That you took it from out of its context, and therefore you could not understand the sense that I was using the term culture, right? And those statements that I was making. So, what specifically I said is that Haitians do not possess a culture for human flourishing. Why do I say this? I say that they have instead a culture that promotes and propagates self-destruction. Now, in my view, that is akin to having no culture at all, right? If the culture that people have, right, or has, is a culture of destruction, for me, I equate this is, I'm saying, I value, in my evaluation, in my estimation, this is no culture at all, or it's a self-defeating culture, right? So it's in that sense that I said that Haitians, they don't have a culture for flourishing. And I believe this is fact, not even belief. I know this to be a fact. We've proven it over and over again in our history. Right now in Haiti, what do you think is happening, right? There's that culture of destruction that is being manifested. Of course, it's at its most extreme, right? But this is how we've been acting and living out our Haitianness, for lack of a better term, for generation. Now, I granted that what I'm saying now and what I said in the last episode is a gross generalization. It's intended for shock value, obviously. And so I'm not offended by your responses, because it was expected. right? But I'm not gonna lie though, I didn't expect for the proportion, right, between those who reacted negatively to those who reacted positively. Wow, it's a wide chasm, right? The percentage of people who disagreed is I'll say like probably 90%. And actually, this it's not even disagreement only. It's the reaction, right? Totally negative, and they didn't take the chance to understand what I was saying in its context, right? So this is what I was kind of shocked about. I thought, I gave us credit that, as a people, and especially the public or the demographic that this podcast is technically targeting the English-speaking world, right? So it is clear that the Haitians who would be watching, right, this podcast or the last episode, they would be people who speak English and understand English. So, in my estimation, is if they listened, they would make sense. They would be able to make sense of what I was intending or what I meant to say. But I was shocked. I was flabbergasted, right, that calling me ignorant, but it's a lot of y'all that were ignorant. But I digress. Let's continue. So, but I understand, right? Haitians, as I said last episode, we are a proud people, right? And generally, and this is also part of my critique last episode and this episode, is that the object of the pride that Haitians have, right, is one moment or one event in the history, 1804, right? And that moment in the revolution, specifically in 1804, this is the moment that we're very proud of because, admittedly, we deemed that it was a great achievement. So it's fair to be proud of it. But this is it. This is, if you really question Haitians in general, right? Generally, there are exceptions to the rule. The sense or the basis of their pride is that particular event in Haitian history, the revolution in 1804. And they generally also have, specific heroes within the greater Haitian history, such as Dessalines, right? Dessalines, c'est Papa Pepla, Papa Haitien, right? Papa Dessalines, they call him. For those who do not understand Creole, it's Father Dessalines, right? And Boukman, Capois la Mort, and possibly, right, you'll hear them mention Catherine Flon. And this is why I mentioned those, except I didn't mention Boukman last episode. So these are generally the principal or the main heroes that you'll hear Haitians talk about. I'll reiterate it. It is clear that Haitians as a people have a culture. This is how you identify a Haitian as opposed to a Jamaican, right? The name itself, right, already implies some form of culture, okay? I mean, look, Haitians like cola champagne. Haitians, they have compas. Haitians have Papa Pierre, Languichat, right? This is all expressions of Haitian culture. So that was clear to me, but that's not what I said, right? What I said, again, is that in spite of this way of manifesting, of living out our Haitianness or Haitianity, the basis, okay? So all of these things that I've just talked about, cola champagne, Papa Pierre, the language, Creole, etc., this is fine and dandy. To be human and to be alive implies these things, right? Language, food, etc. I said that in the last episode. So this is not what I was talking about. This is not the sense that I was using culture. I was using culture and a fundamental, right? From a fundamental philosophical perspective, I'm saying that if, in spite of all of these expressions or ways of expressing ourselves as Haitians, right, that may be positive. If the basis, though, right, the foundation of our culture is destruction, and I consider this to be futile, right? It's no culture at all. And what I would ask, right, is, so how does this belief, right, and the veneration for our ancestors, like this pride that we have and this veneration for our ancestors, achievement, right, some 230 something years ago, how does that motivate and enable us to develop as a people group? What intrinsic property is there, for example, in l'huile mascriti, right, that is going to empower us Haitians to construct a proper educational system that will raise up, right, the level of literacy in the country? You see what I'm doing here? So I'm saying all these things that we're proud of, right? How is that helping us, right, or enabling us, or motivating us, right, or empowering us to build ourselves a country, a nation? How one thinks about oneself is who and what one is. And that fact determines the life one builds for oneself. So whatever y'all Haitians believe to be your identity, right? Again, the question remains, what kind of world has Haitians built for itself in light of this culture? We've been unable to grow since 1804. We should have been further along, right, in our development. And no, I do not want to hear the excuse or the pointing a finger at these so-called, these boogeymen, right, the world powers. And I said in the last episode, I'm not denying that the Americans, the French, the greater world powers and the Western world have mingled themselves in the affairs of Haiti. It's a fact. However, that cannot be the only explanation or reason for the cause of our lack of growth, right, of our progress. We have to start taking ownership and responsibility for our parts, the part that we play in this, right? This is when, to my estimation, that we'll begin to start making, to begin to make a change, excuse me. In fact, this position that we're in, right, is what you call quatchokor in Creole. Quatchokor is retarded. It's something or someone, some organic entity which is unable to grow, right? So that's it. Our growth has been stunted as a people, right? So you say you're Haitian. Those of y'all, anyway, who were attacking me, etc., even questioning, the fact that I'm Haitian. What do you know about Haitian literature? The reason that I ask you this is because literature, among other things, are a part of the fundamental vehicles through which traditions are passed on, and culture is not only established, but normalized and established, right? So a lot of y'all are outside of the country, as I said, like myself, right? And most of y'all are probably born outside of the country, don't probably speak the language. You don't speak French, which is still part of Haitian identity, right? A lot of our literature, and I'm not talking about the new ones, right, have been composed and written in French, but you don't know that language. And not only that, you're not familiar with the literature, yet you want to argue with me about my position or claim about Haitian culture, right? And I would ask you also, what do you know about the Haitian thinkers, some of whom I disagree with, actually, but it doesn't change or negate the fact that they're part of our history, and they're part of the people who help pass on the tradition, right? That could have and that has also admittedly made us, given us a culture. So people such as Jean Price Mars, René Desperces, Antenor Firmin, just to name these, right? And like I said, I disagree with some of their positions, but these are fundamental thinkers, right, in Haitian culture. Most of y'all who are attacking me don't even know these thinkers, or writers, or authors, and let alone are familiar with their writings or their thought. So what are you saying, Haitian? Here's another thing that I deem to be a problematic, right? Haiti's religious system, for example, is divided among two, if you want to say, religions, or two religious groups: Christianity, Voodoo, right? So according to the World Database of Religion at the ARDA, right? So ARDA, this is another organization. I will leave their link also, and below, and right above the comments, you'll have the link. You can verify yourself. So according to a research they did that was based on the UN Population Fund census that was released in May 2006, and it was based on 2003 data. What it reveals is that the religious demographic, okay, in Haiti, okay, so let's say about 11 million people, okay, let's say 12 even million. Out of 12 million people, 54.7% of the population is Roman Catholic, 15.4% Baptist, 7.9% Pentecostal, 3% Seventh-day Adventist, 2.1% Vodou. Now, the religious groups, according to that research, right, or data, the religious groups that constitute less than 5% of the population include Methodist, Episcopalian, Jehovah's Witness, Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints or Mormons, Muslim, and other religious affiliations. And of those people who follow no religion, they number between 10.2%. And the figure for Vodou, right? The percentage of Vodou I said was here 2.1%, right? The figure that represents Vodou it's only based on those who selected Vodou as their primary religion. There's a much larger segment of the population, however, who practices Vodou alongside their Christianity, most commonly with Catholicism, right? A lot of my aunts and uncles actually fit that demographic. But yet they consider, they practice Vodou, right, along with their Christianity, but yet these people in the census, they consider Christianity to be their primary religion. So, in this plurality, right, of religious beliefs, which religion, there's a question, right, that I ask, which religion will be central in shaping the Haitian psyche? Now, I have no problem with religion. I think religion is essential to culture, and religion, and my point of view also, is inherent to what we are as humans. However, okay, when we talk about culture and nation building, right, there has to be some form of cohesion, right, and the belief of the people who are going to form the nation at its nascent stage, right, or at the early stage of the development of a people or a nation. In my estimation, you'll find that it's very problematic, right, when you have different factions, right, or of religious if you want to say, beliefs and within the greater system that are competing, against each other in that group of people, right? And you'll find that if that's the situation, right, at the beginning stage of the development of a people or a nation, it's going to make it very, very difficult, if not to say next to impossible, for you to have, one, build a nation, people that's glued, if you want to say, together, right? And even this will not allow further development. It's going to stunt the development of that people, right? So you will need to have one system, or by system, I'm talking about religious system or belief system, that's common to all or most of the people. Now, as the people start to evolve and develop, the nation is developed, now you may enter a stage where there's religious plurality, right, within that group. But at the beginning stage, I think that's problematic. And here we are. And I think Haiti is a case study for what I'm saying, as evidence to what I'm saying, right? You have all these various groups or belief systems, right? It might not be fighting amongst ourselves with guns and machetes yet, but in the past we have. And the possibilities are still there, right? Protestants don't get along with Catholics. Catholics don't get along with Vodouis, Episcopalian, etc., right? So how do you, like, that's what I said. So my question again, let me repeat it, unless you forget it and all this talking that I'm doing. My question is, in this plurality of religious beliefs, right? Which religion would you consider, or would you consider would be or will be central in shaping the Haitian psyche, right? Because it cannot be all of it. You know what I mean? And even if it was, right, there would have to be some kind of a syncretism. But right now, as it stands, tout coucou kere pou Géo, as we say in Creole. For those, again, who don't understand Creole, it's like every man for themselves, right? So in terms of political stability now, right, Pétion and Christophe, right, they split the country in half in the beginning, right, after 1804. And then Boyer, who became president, he was overthrown in 1843. Then you have an emperor, Emperor Suluk. He was exiled in 1859. President Alexis Lescaut, on to Duvalier, the father, then the son. Then you had the Numphis, the Manigas, and Aristide. All these people were either assassinated or expelled, right? Exiled from the country, right? These were leaders. Until recently, right? President Jovenel Moïse, R.I.P., he was assassinated too. And now we have no political structure, right? So this is when people say that Haiti is a failed state, I don't see how that's an insult. The proof is in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Haitians, right? We need to stop being emotional about this, right? And see it for what it is, objectively. So what kind of fruits have Haiti produced since its, independence? As I mentioned again, from my perspective, it's clear. The proof is in the pudding, right? It's what we produce is poisonous fruit, y'all, right? And that's killing us. Part of the reason that I made the Rethinking Haiti episode, the intent, okay, was what motivated it was the fact that I wanted to provoke Haitians and Haitian supporters and Haitian allies to rethink, like I said, Haiti, to reevaluate we have to reevaluate our self-understanding, right? The way we identify. We have to reevaluate our culture. We have to reevaluate every part of what we think we are, right? So that we can pinpoint, because clearly there's a problem, okay? Who we are, what we are as a people is a problem. And We need to start realizing that you cannot. It's like you have symptoms of illness, right? You feel sick, yet you go to the doctor, you get analyzed, right? And you're diagnosed, but yet you refuse to accept the diagnosis, or let alone you refuse to go to the doctor, right, to get evaluated. All right. This is how I see this, right? This is all I'm asking. I'm asking for us to reevaluate ourselves. Like, it's a distraction. Pointing at what France did or what the United States of America is doing, to me, it's distracting us from what's more important and fundamental, right? Which is to evaluate ourselves, to evaluate Haiti itself, right? As we do this along, we can, I'm not saying we shouldn't, right, critique outside interventionists and our affairs, but to strictly like focus there, to me, is nonsensical. We can't keep doing that. We've been doing this for a while now. And how did we do? Where did this analysis? What did we do with it? What was the result, first of all? What did we conclude? Okay, and this analysis of outside interventionists such as France, the United States of America, etc., right? What was the conclusion? And how did we respond to this so-called conclusion? I'm waiting. So what I'm proposing, and I don't think I'm the only one who's proposing this. Perhaps I'm being vocal right now. I'm saying perhaps the problem is not the other. The bully, he a problem. But perhaps I need to evaluate myself, how I see myself. Perhaps I need to start realizing that I'm not a victim. Perhaps I need to start realizing that I need to stand up. Let's say there were these bullies, right? These boogeyman, this invisible or pretended boogeyman, right? Let's say it does exist. Perhaps I need to start telling myself that I need to stand up for myself against this boogeyman, and I need to formulate a way to stand effectively against this boogeyman. But that's not my view, though. My estimation, again, is that the Haitian problem itself fundamentally is a problem of identity, a problem of vision. Okay, as I said in the previous episode, I believe that the fathers of the Republic, they did not plan out this project properly, right? They did not do a thorough planning of what they saw Haiti to be. So as traditions were being passed on, right, nobody done that. Or maybe some people did it in Haitian history that I'm just not aware of, right? So today, as a fellow Haitian who is outside of the country, because we also have that problem, right? Those who are in the so-called diaspora, most of us are not really considered to be Haitian by the Haitians who are in the land itself, right? So these are all the problematics that we need to start looking. It's a lot. We got a lot on our table. So I see no reason why we need to get emotional about this, right? But I do understand why some of y'all are getting emotional. It's because you don't want to face the truth. You don't want to face the truth about yourself. And I'm sorry, I'm not there to pamper you because although as Haitians, as a people, we may be, as I said, Coco being Quattro, yet we're not children. So I want to hold us to a higher standard. So I'm going to stop there, right? I felt this was necessary to, define and clearly delineate what culture is understood to be in the English language, right? From a anthropological and maybe even sociological standpoint. So it's in that sense that I was using, that I felt it was necessary because I think people misunderstood how I was using the term culture. And I felt it was necessary then to define culture, as a concept and as a word in the greater English lexicon. So I trust that I did it justice. I trust that y'all get out of y'all feelings. But if you are, hey, that's your bad. That's to your detriment. But again, I admonish us to start taking account for ourselves, to take responsibility. Let us start this process of collective, reevaluation, right? And from there on, start to pinpoint what the problematics are, isolate them, and begin to develop, a process of healing. And from the process of healing, we can begin to construct ourselves a new identity. Yes, we may base it on some of the traditions that was passed on to us, because it's not all the tradition that are not useful. Some of it is useful, and in a sense, we can't. There are traditions that we can't undo. We have to work with what we've been given by our ancestors. But what I'm saying is, we're not tied down also to what was detrimental and the traditions that they passed on to us. But in order, again, for us to first, we need to realize that, and we need to start investigating where? Self, us as a people, our ideas, our so-called culture. And from there, as I say, isolate the problematics, begin to work on them. And then after, you begin the process of healing and reconstruction. Gandhi, the Zoe, is me, your host. And this was the Principles Over Profits podcast. I'll see you next time. Peace.